I am Jenna,
Hi.
a girl born and raised in New York, a city dazzling with lights but also full of challenges. The crowded streets, glittering skyscrapers, and the hectic pace of New York were the familiar backdrop of my childhood. But behind that glamorous exterior lies a world that is not always easy. I grew up with only my mother, the strongest woman I've ever known and my only support. She was a single mother. She never talked much about the past or why my father wasn't around, but I understood that life had never been easy for her. She worked tirelessly from morning till night, just to ensure I had a decent life. Though life wasn't easy, she always found ways to make me feel like we had everything. Sometimes, it was a special evening with her homemade spaghetti, even if that was all we had left in the fridge. Or the nights she stayed up patching my old coat, smiling and saying it looked better than something new. My mother taught me the value of patience and perseverance.
Jenna, life will test you,
She often said as we sat together in our tiny kitchen.
but just remember, courage will open every door.
Those words were more than encouragement. They became my life's compass. Whenever I faced hardship, I thought of my mother, a woman who never let challenges break her. But life always finds new ways to test us. When I turned 15, my mother was diagnosed with a terminal illness. It cast a dark cloud over our lives, pushing me into a reality I wasn't ready for. Still, my mother remained strong. "Jenna, promise me," she said, her voice weak but her eyes shining.
Jenna, promise me, whatever happens, you must keep going. Be strong. Don't let life defeat you.
Those words became her greatest legacy. She didn't just teach me how to live. She taught me how to rise after every fall. New York is a tough city, but she always reminded me that a resilient heart could overcome anything. And I, Jenna, have decided to live not only to honor what my mother taught me, but to prove she was right. True courage really can open every door, even when they seem tightly shut. The bracelet I always wear is the last gift my father left before he died. It's not just a keepsake, it's a symbol of family love, something I cherish more than life itself. That evening, I had just finished tutoring and was rushing to my shift at the cafe. I only had 10 minutes left, and I didn't want to be late, especially since it was the second week in a row. The subway station was packed. Footsteps and conversations blended with the roar of arriving and departing trains. I ducked through the crowd, not paying attention, my mind fixed on catching the next train. I bumped into someone. The impact nearly knocked me over. "Sorry," I stammered, not even looking at who it was, and kept running for the train door. As the warning bell rang, I leapt onto the train, just in time. Breathing heavily, I leaned against a pole, feeling like I had just run a marathon. I nearly missed it. I made my way to an empty seat, hoping to rest before my stop, but just then, a hand gently touched my shoulder. I turned around and saw a young man standing in front of me. He had warm brown eyes, slightly messy hair, and a gentle smile that caught my attention. In his hand was a bracelet.
You dropped this.
He said, his voice calm and sure. I froze. My bracelet? The last gift from my father, the one I always kept with me. I had no idea when it had fallen off. Oh my gosh, thank you! This is the last thing my dad gave me. It means everything to me. I took the bracelet from his hand. My heart lightened.
Then keep it safe.
He said, still smiling. I was about to ask his name, but just then, the train doors beeped. He stepped off, standing on the platform, eyes still on me. The train pulled away, his figure fading under the dim station lights. His brown eyes and gentle smile stayed etched in my mind. I didn't know his name or who he was, but something about that meeting felt special, like life had just sent me something meaningful. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about him. His eyes, his smile, the way he returned the bracelet. Everything lingered. I tried to focus on school, cafe work, and my busy schedule. But his image would suddenly appear, in dreams. while I stared out the train window or when I touched the bracelet he gave back. I had no way to find him. That truth gnawed at me. How do you find one person in a city this big? But I couldn't give up. Every day I went back to that station hoping to see him. My heart would race as I scanned the crowd, hoping he'd appear again. But he never did. Sometimes I wondered if I was wasting time. Maybe he'd forgotten me. Maybe it was just a small act of kindness to him. But whenever I thought that, I remembered his eyes. They weren't indifferent. Time passed, and summer ended. I returned to school. Seeing Bella, my best friend, was the highlight. We hadn't talked much over the summer. She was busy traveling. Bella always made me feel safe, like I could tell her anything. She was radiant as always, eyes sparkling when we met at school.
Jenna, I want to introduce my new boyfriend.
She said excitedly, pulling someone toward us. When I saw him, my world froze. It was him, the guy from the train.
This is Peter. We met over the summer. He just moved here and will be joining our class.
Peter reached out his hand to shake mine.
Nice to meet you.
He said calmly, but his eyes flicked to the bracelet I was wearing, the same one he'd returned to me. I forced a polite smile, but my heart clenched. The following days were tough. We had a few classes together, and the closeness made things worse. Every time our eyes met, I saw something he was trying to hide, but he kept his distance. One day in literature class, the teacher asked us to act out a scene from Romeo and Juliet. I picked a romantic part, but before I could finish, Peter scoffed. Dying for love? That's ridiculous, he said, making the class laugh. His words stung, but more than pain, I realized he was pushing me away, as if protecting both of us. Everything changed one late evening at the cafe where I worked. I noticed my bracelet was missing. Panicked, I searched everywhere. In the kitchen, behind the counter, but couldn't find it, and the thought of losing it again crushed me.
Jenna?
A familiar voice came from behind. I turned and saw Peter, holding the bracelet. I found it on my coat, he said, eyes serious. As he stepped closer and hugged me, all my emotions burst out. I cried uncontrollably. Why didn't you recognize me? I sobbed. I was the girl on the train. Peter froze. His eyes showed confusion.
I remember, Jenna, but I thought I had to bury it. I was with Bella, and I didn't want to hurt her. But the more I tried to forget you, the more I couldn't.
I stayed silent, tears running down my face. Part of me wanted to hold him and say I felt the same. But another part couldn't hurt Bella, my best friend. Bella and Peter broke up months later due to irreconcilable differences. Even after that, I kept my distance from Peter. I told myself it had to end. We needed time to sort our feelings. I convinced myself I had moved on. But every time I looked at the bracelet, the thing that connected us from the beginning, I remembered him. One day, I heard Peter was leaving the city for good. It hit me like a knife to the heart. He hadn't told me, but the rumors spread fast. Maybe it was for the best, I told myself. But the thought of never seeing him again filled me with pain. That night, it rained heavily. I stood in front of the station, watching the last train prepare to leave. The rain soaked through my clothes, but all I felt was emptiness. I almost turned away, ready to let him go, but something pushed me, stronger than fear or pride. I couldn't let him leave without doing anything. I ran through the rain, heart pounding. "Peter!" I screamed, my voice breaking. He turned, eyes wide in surprise.
Jenna?
I stepped closer, rain and tears mixing on my face. "Don't go," I said, choked with emotion. "I don't want to live without you." The train pulled away, but we didn't care. That moment was everything. Fate had brought us together, and the bracelet was our symbol of connection. Amid the dim, yellow lights of the night train, all the emotions I had held back finally broke free. I felt it all. Love, pain, and release. I realized true love isn't always easy. But if we're brave enough to fight for it, love will always win, even when everything seems lost.